An opportunity in front of them, they won't even realize it because a lot of times it comes in the form of a problem. Not everybody's looking for the cheapest repair on their car. They're looking for honesty, competence, and transparency. If you lie to them and they catch you, everything you ever said to them will look like a lie.
It's gone. Doesn't matter how nice you were, how kind they were, how much money they gave you. It doesn't matter.
Money comes and money goes. It's your character and your ethics and morals that will stay with you.
Audio Jungle.
Welcome to the podcast. The podcast is called Most People Don't, But You Do. And I am here today. This is live shot from Strictly EBikes in Alexandria, Virginia. Asif Shakeel, CEO and founder. Thank you for spending time and talking with us. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Bart. My pleasure to be here.
Now, the reason why, the story goes when I first met you. This was just weeks ago. We were biking. My son lives a couple of blocks away from here. And our little portable, small, foldable bike broke. I took it to a couple of other places. We don't have it. We don't have the part that you're looking for. Why don't you go to Strictly EBikes? They're good people. We stopped in and I'm thinking, how could an e-bike store be able to fix this? This is what happened. This is what brought my attention to you, Asif, and what you were doing. You were kind. You greeted us. One of your team members brought us water. You said, I think we're going to be able to help you. Let me just take it down to our shop. And no exaggeration, 10 minutes later, you brought it up and it was done. The price was fair and you made us feel comfortable. It's just so many things. Congratulations for all of those things, for making customers feel that way. Where does that come from? So how did that start? We'll get into your background, but how did that element of service delivery, how did that start with you?
I come from an automotive background, and that's a pretty competitive industry in terms of repairs. I learned over the years that the best way to compete is through service, because there's only so far you can go as far as prices, and not everybody's looking for the cheapest repair on their car. They're looking for honesty, competence, and transparency. Just to compete, I was really focused on giving customers the absolute best experience by giving them an experience that was worth repeating. In other words, they wouldn't mind coming back to me because I've had the opportunity to earn their trust, and now that they trust me, they want to continue doing business with me. That's where it comes from. It's basically from my automotive background and competing on service, not so much on price.
Competing on service, you had car dealerships, you had, was it service stations? Is that the best way of explaining it? Several different businesses existing at the same time. But I want to go back even farther. You were able to be successful because you were competing on service. You realized that was different. But a lot of people don't even know about service or about how to be nice to people or how to look them in the eye. Where did that come from? Was that growing up? Did your parents teach you? What were the influences of how you became so focused on other people? Because it is amazing.
I guess I learned that from my father, because just growing up, I used to see him just helping anybody who asked for help, even if it was a stranger. I remember he would bring people over to our house because they didn't have a place to stay, and my mom would get upset. Why are you bringing these strange people to our house? We don't even know them. Yeah. I think that's where I got it from. It's just a service to others. I saw my father just constantly doing that.
Was your father an entrepreneur also?
Eventually he became one, but he was in the Merchant Marines for a long time.
What business then did he start after in the Merchant Marines?
He was also in the automotive field, and that's where I actually learned a lot of the business from him.
Did you ever work for him?
I tried to avoid working for him, but I did end up working for him a few summers.
And what did he teach you? What are some of the great lessons? Besides service, of course, besides treating people, what else did he teach you?
There's so much he taught me. For the most part, it was just being an ethical person, because in business, there's a lot of room to cheat the customer, because under the hood, they don't know what's going on. It could be a tiny part they need, but then you can make up a story and tell them you need a big part.
Of course.
So he would always tell me that for long-term success, you have to be honest. You have to be upfront, because as long as you're not lying, you're being honest with the customers, there's no way they can come back and say anything. But if you lie to them and they catch you, everything you ever said to them will look like a lie.
It's gone. Doesn't matter how nice you were, how kind they were, how much money they gave you. It doesn't matter. All of that is out the window if they can't trust you.
Exactly. Following up with that, he always also taught me that The end goal is not to be rich. Money comes and money goes. It's your character that and your ethics and morals that will stay with you.
Wow. Was his business successful? His car business?
It was. He was not the type of person that would want to expand and leave it alone. He would always feel like he has to do everything. Where I had a different approach where I didn't want to do everything. I wanted to delegate tasks so I can do more things. In other words, after I started one business, I would try to get it automated and have a team in place where they would do everything, and then so I can do something else.
Why? Was it to make more money? Was it to teach other people? Why the need to get the system going, do something else, do more? You had, was it 3 or 4 businesses at the same time?
It was.
Crazy.
Honestly,
so why?
I think it's because it's an opportunity. When I saw an opportunity, I had that desire and passion to just continue to grow. When I saw an opportunity, I wanted to just take it. I didn't want to just say, oh, I could be doing this, but I'm doing this, so I'm not going to do that. But when I saw an opportunity, I always pursued it.
But why? Inside, because there's opportunities everywhere, and there's a lot of people that are not doing the name of our company, the name of the podcast. You are doing what most people don't. Why do you think opportunity, I got to do that. Opportunity, I got to do that.
That's a great question.
And we're going to get to how this opportunity came about, which I think is a great story. But just in general, your character, what makes you compelled to, there's an opportunity, I'm going to go do it?
I do get a lot of satisfaction from being productive and accomplishing something. It makes me feel good because growing up, I was not the best student. I'm just making up for that. Just trying to overachieve now as opposed to my teenage years when I was just goofing off.
Overachieve now, and who is it for now? Who are you overachieving for now?
I never thought about that. If I had to answer that, I would probably say for myself and my family, just so they can be proud of me.
Is your family proud of you?
They are.
They better be. They better be.
Yeah.
Are your parents still alive, if I may
They
ask?
are. They still live in Springfield where I grew up. I still keep in touch with them. Visit them all the time.
I want to go back to your first business. Worked for your dad. Was your first business a service station, or was your first business a car dealership, or were you doing multiple things automatically? Just walk us through, how did that first business come about?
It was just at the right time, at the right place. So my father knew somebody who actually had an immigration problem and needed to leave the country for whatever the process he had to adhere to. He wanted to sell his business pretty quickly, and he didn't have time to put it on the market or hire a business broker. So he reached out to my father. My father reached out to me and said, this is a great opportunity for you. Basically, he helped me acquire the first service station.
Wow.
And from there, I was able to learn the business really well because my passion was always cars. I was a car guy growing up. So, naturally I excelled being around cars all the time. But I was never on the technical side. I was always like on the business side of how to figure out how much labor to charge, what parts to keep in inventory, and just things like that would optimize an operation. I just was good at that naturally because I just was into cars. From there, I became really good, made some money, and then just invested in another one. Did the same thing and invested in a third one. That's when I stopped because I felt like I didn't have enough time to do the things that I wanted to do or spend time with my family if I was just constantly trying to grow.
Did you ever work for someone? Not from your father, but like when you finished school at George Mason locally, you have, I know, multiple degrees, congratulations. More degrees than I have in my one hand. Did you ever then start working for a company? Did you ever work for XYZ?
Very briefly, I did, and I found out that corporate America is not for me. I didn't like it. I didn't like sitting at a desk. I didn't like just competing with a bunch of other people. So when I had this opportunity, I absolutely jumped on it. I found that it was probably the most rewarding and the best decision I've ever made was to have your own business, because the harder that I worked, the more successful I was, not a corporate company that where I was just one cog of.
You could work hard working for somebody and maybe you begin to climb the ladder, or maybe you don't begin to climb the ladder. But my sense from you is that the harder that you worked, the more successful your businesses became, the better that you felt.
Exactly.
Which is terrific. What about the challenges? Were there ever crazy challenges in having your own business to say, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to make payroll? Were there any times like that? And can you walk us through how were you feeling and what did you do to overcome that?
The most memorable thing that I can remember is the recession of 2008. Do you remember that? When there was basically the housing market crash here.
And hiring freeze and spending money, people losing it. I remember.
Exactly. So I remember what I did at that time is I basically cut all unnecessary expenses. I had a whole bunch of things that weren't really necessary, but they were to enrich the customer experience, like muzak playing in the background, things like that. I got rid of those and I had to lay off a few people. Thankfully, I was able to weather the storm and survive. But that was a really great learning experience where I was able to just go through my expenses and see what to cut and come out on top. What most business owners will say, and I totally agree with, is the most challenging part of the business is finding skilled, competent workers. Because I get people all the time applying for a job, but really they don't really have the skills or bring enough value to the table. They might have a desire to, but honestly, I just can't find, really good people.
How are you able to find good people now? Because I can see the way that your team interacts with you. I can see, I don't know if it was you that gave me water, but it might have been one of your team members, your colleagues that brought me water. It wasn't just you giving me a great service experience. It was every single person. I think there was 3 people working that day when we came in to see you. How were you able to find those people now? And how are you treating them to keep them so engaged and passionate like you?
The thing is, it's still a challenge. I'm still struggling to find good help. That day was me, by the way, that brought the water.
That was you?
I'm constantly talking to the guys and motivating them to give the customer the best experience. A lot of times they'll just see me doing things and they'll just kind of emulate me. And that's what our goal is here. We're not just really just selling and servicing bikes. It's the whole Strictly EBikes experience that we're trying to give them, because you can buy the same bikes online and it'll come in a couple days to your house. Even if you can't repair it, assemble it, I'm sure there's somebody that they know that can assemble it.
Of course.
But here at Strictly EBikes, the thing is that the experience is what we're focusing on. When they come here, we hold their hand, we find out what they need, what are their needs, how they're going to use their bike, what are their limitations, all these kind of things. And then we give them a few choices. They test ride it and then they decide. But the online experience is you're bombarded with hundreds of ads. You don't know which company is reputable. You can't test ride it. It's not easy to even return the bike if you made the wrong choice. Here's the complete opposite. You can be at total ease knowing that you're making the decision. And if you do somehow end up with the wrong bike, you can bring it back. No problem. No questions asked. Return it or exchange it.
Service. It's all about the service.
It's all about the service.
I like what you said. When you can go online, there's a topic that we share as a company called humanality. And I don't think I shared it with you before. But humanality, as defined by us, is making people feel cared for, valued, seen, and heard. Cared for, valued, seen, and heard. In a world that is so busy, so processed, so transactional, so automated, that sometimes we forget about the person. The person. That's my sense from you. That's what you believe in. That is what you are creating at Strictly EBikes. Experience. Many times already in this conversation, in a couple of minutes, you have said experience, customer experience. I want to go back to one thing that you shared, Asif, about when the 2008 financial crisis hit. And you had to start changing things a little bit. You had to lay off a couple of people. And you started to change things that would affect the customer experience. Besides the muzak, as an example, do you remember what else did you cut? And what was the evaluation and the thought process to say, we need to cut this, we need to cut this, we need to cut this, besides muzak and besides people? There's a correlation that I want to share, something that I learned during that time too. But do you remember what else did you cut and what was the process? Because customer experience is all about you, and it's all about e-bikes, and it's all about your businesses in the past. Do you remember?
There's a few things I do remember. For example, I'm really into outdoor environments. I had the service stations that I had, I tried to keep them really nicely landscaped. Everything would be nice, pedicured grass, flowers. I cut the landscaping services as well. Inventory. When it comes to inventory, when you have inventory on shelves, that's like having money sitting on your shelves. So what I did is I reduced my inventory that I carried to free up some cash flow, things like that. Those are some of the examples that I can give.
It's a really good point, because music, it might be a nice thing to have. It's a nice have, but it's not necessarily critical. The landscaping, the manicuredness of not necessarily critical. Whether you have 100 different bikes or you have 3 bikes, or in the case before when you had your car dealership, correct? You could have 10 cars or you could have 100 cars. So you were evaluating that. The reason why I brought it up is my background was hospitality. So I was with Ritz-Carlton for a very long time. And I will never forget when a big announcement came out that they were no longer delivering newspapers to each and every single guest room door. They were no longer going to do that. We were like, oh my gosh, that's what Ritz-Carlton is all about. It's anticipatory service and doing nice things. And why should people have to get out of their room to be able to go and get a paper? And so we were kind of shocked. But when they showed us numbers, they said, what we're going to do is we're going to have a stack of newspapers, the same selection, but on the lobby elevator landing on each floor. Instead of it being delivered to each door, there was a stack of newspaper when you were waiting for the elevator. That's it. The savings, they no longer had to have a bellman or doorman deliver that, which was additional fee. They no longer had to pay for the lovely cloth bags that it was in that most people stole anyway. So it saved tons and tons of money. The customer experience was minimally affected. And I think that's exactly your point, that you can make changes, but maybe the customer will never know. It might not be affected. I want to speed up and move fast forward.
Yeah.
Successful with your service station, successful, congratulations with your car dealership. Amazing. And did you sell everything and retire, Asif? Is that what happened?
Pretty much. I did own the property on a couple of them. I kept the property and just leased out the business, so I continue to collect rental income. Everything I make at Strictly EBikes, I pretty much reinvest to grow the company.
You kept the land, you leased the land, you sold the businesses, and you shared with me a story. Were you bored?
Bored?
Were you bored when you got rid of all this business?
After I got rid of the business, I was a little bored because my kids were at school and they were busy, and I just wanted to have some fun. I did end up buying an e-bike online, and that's when I realized I made a mistake when it came, because it was too tall for me and it was super heavy. I didn't realize e-bikes could be that heavy. But I lived with it and I rode it for a little while until I crashed on it and needed service. And I couldn't find a place to repair it. I took it to a couple of local bike shop. They stopped me at the door. We don't work on these. So I ended up finding a place in Maryland, Silver Spring, and I had to drive from Herndon to get it repaired.
And load up your heavy bike.
Exactly. I realized there's like a huge gap in the market. These e-bikes, they're about to be everywhere. At that time, it was just like a novelty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not everybody was into it. Now it's like mainstream. At that time, in 2022.
2022. So 3 years ago.
It's still relatively
4
new.
years ago.
So that's why there was like nobody willing to work on e-bikes. And that's when I saw the opportunity. At that time, I was also like teaching as an adjunct at George Mason University. And I remember just talking to my students about something called an idea in entrepreneurship called opportunity recognition. Most people don't have that.
Ding, 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 ding. You win a book in a second. You win a book. Wait, hold on. Asif said the right word. Congratulations, you win a book.
Thank you, Bart.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Opportunity.
When an opportunity is right in front of them, they won't even realize it, because a lot of times it comes in the form of a problem. They just want to find the solution or find somebody to find that solution, so they'll keep moving forward. But if you can find that solution and you realize that's an opportunity where other people are probably have the same problem, they're looking for that same solution, you can easily monetize that and turn it into a business. So when I saw that there's no place to get your e-bike repaired, that's when I realized that this is going to be a big business coming soon. And every time I rode outside in Alexandria, DC, people would come to me all the time and start talking to me about my bike. Where did you get that bike? How fast does it go? Things like that. I realized there's a lot of interest in e-bikes. That's when I just took my own advice to my students and started pursuing this and did a market analysis, did a research on e-bikes. I saw that all the bike shops, I should say, in the local market here, DC, Maryland, Virginia, they're basically selling 95% regular bikes, and they might have one or two e-bikes that they're selling. Those e-bikes are made by these big companies that they're a dealership for, like Trek or Specialized, so they're super expensive. They're not like for first-time buyers, first-time e-bike buyers. I realized that I need to basically open my own store.
Incredible. What I need to give you another compliment, Asif, because when I went to those two other bike shops, and I shared with you who they were in Old Town Alexandria, they all recommended you. I'm thinking, wait, Strictly e-bikes? This is a pedal bike. This is a portable, foldable pedal bike. I don't even know what it's called, the regular bike. Yet you solved it, and you and your team solved it, which is also brilliant, because I think you saw a problem. Correct? You saw an opportunity. How you can get competitors to recommend you, I think that says a lot about you, obviously, and your character and what you are building and your brand. Just amazing. To go from speaking to your class, teaching your class, and saying opportunity, what was the word? Opportunity?
Recognition.
Opportunity recognition. Here's something that I think we can do. What was the next step like? Was it then looking for space? Was it looking to which brands am I going to cover? Like, how do you even start? I heard you earlier before we started recording that you're expanding, correct? You're going next door, you're getting bigger and bigger. But how do you even start?
You have to study the market. First, you have to see, is there a demand for this product, for this service? Then I saw it's a totally underserved market. There's tons of e-bikes. At that time, there were not tons of e-bikes, but I did see that there's tons of e-bikes being sold online, which meant there's going to be tons of e-bikes on the road. That was the next step. I studied the market. I saw there is a demand for this, and it's a very, very early in the stage. There's years of growth is coming.
You had access to data, you did the research, and you found out a lot of people are buying them, but if I look and search How many repair places are there for e-bikes, or how many dealerships? Is it called a dealership? That there are minimal numbers. You live in Virginia, outside of Old Town where we are now. What made you think this is the spot? This corner, is this Washington?
Washington Street.
What a great location.
It is.
What made you think, I live in XYZ, I live near Dulles Airport, and this is 40, 50 minutes away. Why did you choose here for this store? What was that opportunity? What did you see?
So I'm familiar with all of Northern Virginia because I've been living here for 50 years. You know the Mount Vernon Trail along the Potomac River? I grew up riding that trail as a teenager. I used to put that in the back of my car, park here, and ride on the trail. I knew this was like a really big biking community here, with all the trails here, the proximity to DC and Maryland. Plus it's like an urban area, it's very densely populated. It checked all the boxes for me. There's tens of thousands of people living in a very small area. The bike lanes here are good. Affluent area where people have disposable income. I just thought it was a ideal situation, ideal, this Old Town Alexander to be in.
And it is.
This was not my first attempt to lease a space. There were two other places that I reached out, but the broker was not very helpful. They didn't even like the idea of electric bikes. But I was driving by and I saw the place for lease, and I just basically called, and the agent was super nice, and she thought it was a great idea. It turned out to be a great idea.
Of course, a lot of initial outflow of money for the rent, for the build, for the staff, for the inventory. Was that something that you were prepared for?
Having a business background, I pretty much
You
made
had
a
a
business-
chunk, you were ready.
I was ready. I made a business plan. I knew exactly how much I needed to spend to start the business, how much I'd be making in the first year or so. That was the easy part.
Easy part. I love it.
Yeah.
Easy part. You also had shared when I first met you that there are a couple of reasons why people are buying e-bikes now. I think there's like 3 reasons, maybe 2 reasons. I don't fully remember the exact answer, but from memory, why are people buying e-bikes now?
There's a few different categories of people that are buying them. Earlier, you met a father. He's got his bike outfitted with the child seat and everything. For parents, it makes it super easy to take their kids to school in the morning because you can avoid the carpool line. You go past all the cars to the front door, the kids hop off, and you're on your way back.
Okay.
It makes it really convenient and easy for the parents and fun for the kids to go to school on a bike in the morning. For a lot of seniors that haven't ridden, let's say, in 20 years, this gives them the opportunity to go back on a bike. They never have to worry about walking up their bike up a hill or getting too far from their home. A lot of the bikes that are coming now are like a step-through frame, so it allows people with limited range of motion or knee pain to be able to get on bikes.
It's not a girl's bike or a boy's bike anymore.
Exactly.
It's a step through, so you don't have to lift your leg up
Exactly.
3 feet.
Exactly. A lot of delivery drivers like Uber Eats, DoorDash, they're using them because it's just more efficient than a car. You don't have to worry about parking or the other expenses of owning a car. DC and this Old Town, the speed limit here is like 25, 30, and these bikes go that fast. You can easily keep up with traffic, and a lot of times it's faster than a car because you can get off the road and take a trail there. People are finding these things out, especially people who live in the city in DC. You can just take your bike up into your condo or your apartment. You don't have to pay for parking and things like that. You don't have to pay for insurance and things. People are finding out there's a lot of benefits to riding on these e-bikes.
That's so great. The gentleman that did come in with his bike, he said that's all he uses. That is his only vehicle for taking his kids to school, for driving to work, for hauling papers, for hauling whatever he shared that he's hauling. That's all that he has. He probably doesn't even have a car anymore, which is just so smart, good for the environment, economic, cost effective, and fun. We were talking just a few last questions, Asif. The opportunities. Now, July 2026. What else do you see? Is it an expansion of Strictly EBikes? What else do you see that you think is another opportunity? Because before you had service stations, you had car dealerships. Now you have Strictly EBikes. You have the service component underneath, the sales up here, and the repair. What else do you see next?
What I'm working on now
If it's not secret and proprietary.
No, it's not. It's not secret or proprietary at all. So I'm working on a franchise model. I know there's going to be...
We want to sign up.
Loudoun County is an ideal location where you live for an e-bike because there's tons of people coming from Ashburn and Leesburg and stuff like that. But that's what I'm looking to do next, is actually hired a company that was helping me to do that.
Wow. What a great idea, because we see that it can expand. There's so many elements of value. How can our listeners help support you? They got to learn about Asif Shakeel, CEO and founder of Strictly EBikes. This goes out to a lot of different people. There's a lot in our local community, of course, but it's globally top 2 to 5% podcast. It's going out all over the world. What can our listeners do to help you and to help Strictly EBikes?
If they have any kind of ideas or suggestions, I would welcome those. If they want to join my team, I'd love to meet them. If there's anything that they've done before that has worked and they see me, not doing or doing it wrong, I'd love to learn.
Are individuals, do they need to be local to purchase from you, or can they purchase online?
So that's one of the premises of opening the shop. Remember, I thought buying online was a bad idea. You can buy a book online or things like that. You don't need to test ride, or things that are the same no matter where you go. The same book is going to be. But on a bike, I think it's a good idea because they need to be assembled properly. These come in a box. They're heavy and they're fast. You don't want it to be improperly assembled because the crashes on these are severe. Number two, it needs a test ride. You need to be able to test ride it and see if it's the size bike for you, if it's the weight, the geometry is good for you. That's one reason I would not want to sell bikes online. Just not a good idea. Yeah. I do sell online accessories and things like that. I get orders for bike accessories and things like that from across the country, which I do sell. But bikes, I don't ship. They need to come here and pick them up from here. I totally encourage them to do a test ride first to make sure it's the right bike for them.
When individuals do come and they purchase a bike, what are the next? We're going to be experiencing that in a moment. We will be getting a bike. Thank you. What does that look like? Do you need to have a big car? Just for people that are local to the DMV that are going to come visit you in Alexandria, what do they need to be prepared for when they come? They'll come and they'll test drive it. I have a small car, Asif. I don't know if it's going to, what are the next steps? What do they need to be prepared for to be able to take one home and start enjoying it? What do they need?
If they live around here, meaning like National Harbor or like in DC, they can just ride their bike home. A lot of people do that. They will just come on the metro, test ride their bike, use it, and then just ride their bike home. It's fun. It's really exciting for them. If they don't live around here, let's say they live in Sterling or something, then they would come over here and we would just help them load it up in their car. If they don't have a car that can accommodate it, they can buy like a vehicle hitch rack from me. Just put the bike on that. I have some with a ramp that they can just roll it up. You don't have to lift it. If that still doesn't work, then they can, I have a third party, like an Uber driver, a guy with a Suburban. He can deliver it for like $65 to their house if they want to do that.
Truly like thought of everything. You have thought about everything. Not only from the purchasing opportunity, by the service experience that we're seeing, the after I own it type of service experience. And that's the last thing that two last things I want to ask you about. A lot of times in our humanality training, we have these 12 pillars, and I'll just share a few with you. The first one is I see you. I see you. I see you as a guest. I see you as a customer. I see you as a patron. I see you as a human being. I see you. That's the first thing. The second one is be where your feet are. Be present. Even though there's 1,000 people that are walking into the store right now, Asif, you are the most important thing to me right now. Vice versa. Thank you. I know there's other people. I know there's customers. I know there's team members, but be where your feet are. The third component is something along the lines of just ask. Don't just start selling something, but find out, tell me more about you. How will you be using the bike? Where do you live? How often do you have children? Will you be, like, all of these different things, just ask. But the last component is don't go quiet. The last component, the last pillar is don't go quiet, which means after the sale is made, bye-bye, you're no longer important. There's so many organizations that do that. Then you aren't a valued customer anymore. You are a past receipt. You're past revenue on their checklist. What is your approach to customers that have bought with you that are coming in later? How do you treat them?
As you mentioned earlier, it's not transactional business. It's a relationship-based business here. A few things that I do is in 2025 and previous to that, I was actually giving a free tune-up to whoever bought a bike. But at that time, I was charging assembly. But in order to be more competitive, I waived the assembly fee. Now it's free assembly, same as the online price, which is very competitive. So I gave up on the free tune-up. That was a way for me to keep the customers engaged even after they purchased the bike. Now I've started something called a ride club, where once they buy the bike from me, they can join me and other customers here at the shop once a month, where we go for a ride around the area and learn and explore new trails, things like that. So it's a part of a community engagement that I do to try to still be a part of the community.
Who does that? Who does that? This guy is doing that. You have blown away me, but with your answers and with your approach. Just absolutely amazing. And I want our listeners to learn more about you, learn more about Strictly EBikes. connect with you on LinkedIn. I know you're building up your following on social media. Tell us, where can our listeners learn more about Strictly EBikes? The website and social media, what would you suggest?
You can go to strictly-ebikes.com. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. You can just search for Strictly EBikes. I'm on LinkedIn as well. They can just search for Asif Shakeel. So there's all these different ways to connect with me. But if they want to email me directly, they can just email me at Asif, ASIF, strictly-ebikes.com.
Asif at strictly-ebikes.com. And I have to tell you one last thing. I think there are areas that you have little signs that say, oh, find us on social media. And I have to tell you, it's very rare when I would want to pay more to be able to do business with someone. And I learned that from my Ritz-Carlton days. A hotel room can be a hotel room, but if you feel passionate about the brand, you're like, you need to charge me $900. That's a lot of money, but you know what? I'm gonna stick with you and pay you $900. The fairness in the repair that you did for our bike, I was looking up online, oh, it's gonna be $80, $95 and $100 for that one piece. And it came out and it was like $38, and you gave us water, and you had it done in 10 minutes. I would have paid more for that experience. And I'm glad you didn't, but I would have paid more. But I think that shows about you, Asif, and about the company that you are creating, the brand that you are building. And then I know once you can correlate that to your new franchise opportunities, and if you need help with training on how to make sure we're treating people well, you're going to change the landscape of the e-bike market. Right? Just so proud to know you. Absolutely amazing.
Nice.
There are two last things. I would like you to fill in the blank. Most people don't blank. We talked a lot about what you do that most people don't, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as an adjunct professor, as a human being. How would you fill in the blank? Most people don't blank.
I would say most people don't follow through. They will talk about doing things, but they won't actually do it.
And can I share one other little story with our interaction?
Absolutely.
When I met you weeks ago, I said, you would be brilliant on this podcast. You know, take a look, here's my card, take a look at it. And then we corresponded. I emailed and you emailed me back. Then you texted me and I texted you back. And even this morning, most entrepreneurs would not even think of this. I didn't even tell both of you. You sent me a note just saying, hey, look, here's a good place to park. There's free parking garage around the corner. Most people would not even be thinking about that. They would just be thinking about, I have to open up at 10 a.m. and it's a holiday weekend and I'm going to be very busy. But you are so focused on following up and doing the thing. I cannot wait to see what is next coming down the path. As a result of that, we travel with gratitude stones. When we meet people that are exceptional, that go above and beyond, that are doing what most people don't, a little token of our appreciation, we share gratitude stones. How this started, it's coming to you in a second, but how it started years ago, I'm a nervous flyer. And years ago, a friend of mine said, get a fidget toy or something to put in your pocket just to kind of distract you. And someone said, why don't you get a stone, like a little pebble? And so I started traveling with a gratitude stone. Mm-hmm. I was on a flight probably about 10 years ago, and I noticed someone that was more nervous than me. What I did is I gave my gratitude stone to that person. I was still scared, but when I gave it to that person, it made them feel better, gave them a little relief. I felt a little bit better. I would stop worrying in my head because I did something nice for someone else. And that's what our gratitude stones represent. It's just a way of saying thank you. You don't need it more than me, but I want you to receive it more than me. This is green aventurine, if I may share it with you, Asif. Yes. Green aventurine, it is for energy and good vibrations. Thank you so much. I can tell you it's for more positivity with things coming with Strictly EBikes and all that you're doing.
I appreciate it so much, Bart. Thank you.
What a pleasure. Asif Shakeel, founder, CEO, Strictly EBikes in Old Town Alexandria. The street address, just so we can get it?
683 North Washington Street.
Make sure you come visit if you're local, buy a bike, join the community, ride with Asif. Boy, I can't wait to see what's next. You're amazing, gentlemen.
Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
What a joy. Thank you. And then we would conclude there. Good stuff. Holy cow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for opening up.